The WNBA recently lost $440 million, raising serious concerns about its financial future despite rising interest in women's basketball. The league still struggles to make a profit, leaving many wondering how long it can sustain these losses before the investors decide to cancel next season.
If next season is canceled, it will be the end of the WNBA in the mainstream. People will not give this league another chance.
At the same time, players are pushing for higher salary and threatening to go on strike. What this must be a joke.
If they go on strike over money, if they go on strike while people are struggling with inflation, struggling to put food on the table, it will be the end of the WNBA in the mainstream.
Just go out there, ask for more money. After it was reported there was a $40 million loss. Dumb.
You might be wondering, how can they ask for more when there's no money? Well, here's where it gets into interesting.
And they have a list of wants, including increased salaries now that the WNBA has entered a historic 11-year media rights deal with Disney, Amazon Prime, and NBC for $200 million a year.
That's right, you heard it correctly. The WNBA just secured a massive $200 million media deal, but here's where things get tricky. This isn't just a simple story of more money and more success. In fact, we're going to break down the entire situation and show you why it's much more complicated than it seems at first glance. All right, let's talk about this $40 million loss, because it's absolutely wild when you break down the numbers. You might be wondering, how does a professional sports league lose that much money and still have players asking for even more? Stick with me, because the whole situation is mind-blowing. First off, here's something shocking.
I mean, what other league operates for 27 years in a loss? What other business does?
The WNBA has been operating at a loss since its inception in 1997, meaning it has been in the red for over 25 years without turning a profit. So, how have they managed to keep the lights on? Enter the NBA.
So the NBA provides the WNBA with an annual endowment of over $15 million. This financial support helps to cover various operating costs for WNBA teams, including facilities, travel, marketing, and administration.
It turns out that the NBA has been quietly supporting the WNBA all along, investing more than $15 million each year, just to ensure that the league can continue the function. This financial backing plays a crucial role in maintaining the operations of the WNBA, allowing it to sustain itself despite its ongoing struggles to achieve profitability. Now, you might think that a $200 million media deal would change everything for the WNBA.
After the new media rights deal started, and they got a little while before that starts. It's not going to be next year. I mean, that media rights deal is sizable, all right? The league is set to possibly pull a profit for the first time ever because of that media rights deal. Some estimates upwards of $100 million a year, potentially, by the way, because of Caitlin Clark.
While it could have a big impact, it won't happen immediately. It may take a few years before this boost turns into real profits for the league. For now, that money is barely making a dent in their current expenses. You'd expect such a deal to cover major costs, but the reality is it hasn't yet significantly improved the league's financial situation. What even more surprising is where the money is going.
And the WNBA also just started paying for charter flights this season, which will cost them $50 million over this season and next, and that is revenue that necessarily hasn't come in yet.
Believe it or not, the WNBA spends a staggering $50 million on charter flights alone. That's more than their entire annual media deal payout, just to get players from game to game. This highlights how costly it is to maintain player conditions, with expenses far outweighing the financial boost from the deal. And that's not even the full picture. They've got arena costs, marketing expenses, staff salaries, and of course player salaries to cover. Here's another interesting fact.
As of 2023, the NBA owns 50% of the WNBA, while the 12 WNBA teams collectively own the other 50%.
The NBA owns half of the WNBA, while the remaining half is divided among the 12 teams in the league. This ownership structure complicates financial dynamics and decision-making process is with the NBA, as a stakeholder. Discussions about revenue sharing and budget allocations must involve multiple parties.
Even with the Caitlin Clark uptick in business, and it was significant, it did not matter. The WNBA is set to lose $40 million
But here's the crazy part: despite the league losing money left and right, they're actually seeing record-breaking viewership, and jersey sales are through the roof. There's clearly growing interest in women's basketball, but somehow the numbers just aren't adding up to profits, and that's got everyone scratching their heads. And you know what? The players aren't just sitting around hoping things will change.
The WNBA and its players are closing in on an opt-out date for their current collective bargaining agreement. The CBA is essentially an agreement that sorts out what percentage of money goes to the players and at the end of the day decides what their salaries will be. And if the players union does opt out, the current CBA, which was set to expire in 2027, will still be in effect next season. So the two sides have a year to come to an agreement.
They've actually opted out of their current collective bargaining agreement because they want a new deal that really shows what they're worth. We're not just talking about higher salaries here. They want better working conditions across the board. The question is, with the league still losing money, how much can they really get?
This league is not operating on a profit at all. Well, these players, after finally some success after all these years, have decided to opt out of their collective bargaining agreement. Keeping in mind, salaries were going to go up after the new media rights.
The league's already losing $40 million. The players want more money. And now we've got NBA owners starting to sweat. Why? Because they're seeing something in these numbers that's got them seriously worried about the future of women's basketball. And when billion-dollar NBA owners start getting nervous, you know something big is about to go down.
If the NBA wanted to close this, nobody would blame them. Nobody would blame them if they wanted to shut this league down. NBA investors are actually starting to get irritated. It's about time.
So the real question is, what could happen?
If the players and the league can't come to an agreement, then a lockout will happen.
We're looking at the very real possibility of a lockout. Yeah, just like what happened in the NHL back in the day. Imagine a whole season without WNBA basketball, right when the sport's momentum is building. That's the kind of nightmare scenario keeping everyone up at night. But let's talk about WNBA salaries for a moment.
And currently the top salary is around $250,000.
When you hear how much the highest paid WNBA player earns, you might be shocked. And it gets even more surprising when you learn what these athletes have to do just to make a living wage in professional basketball. For
example, they sell my jersey in Mandalay Bay, I don't get a dime.
You don't get any money from jersey sales?
That's crazy.
Here's something that'll blow your mind. WNBA players don't see a single penny from jersey sales. That's right, while fans are out there buying jerseys with their favorite players' names on them, those same players aren't getting anything from it. And that's just the start of what these athletes are dealing with.
We are not asking you to get paid what the men get paid. We're asking you to get paid the same percentage of revenue shared.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? In the NBA, they have percentages of revenue shared for the players, right? So jersey sales, obviously their TV contracts. You see these every year, these contracts get bigger and bigger and bigger, right?
Yeah, massive.
But that's because their CBA, it negotiates where if the owners are making certain types of money, they get that as well.
Got it.
In the WNBA, that's not the case.
But here's what's really interesting about this whole situation. These players aren't even asking for NBA-type money. Kelsey Plum put it perfectly when she said they're not trying to match the men's salaries. They just want the same percentage of revenue shared. That's a huge difference from what you might have been hearing right now. The league keeps saying there's no revenue to share, but let's look at what's actually happening here. The WNBA just landed that massive media rights deal worth $200 million per year for the next 11 years. Plus, viewership is up, attendance is growing, and merchandise is flying off the shelves. So where's all that money going? You know what makes this even crazy?
With the WNBA season ending for many teams, there are already so many players heading overseas to play during the off-season. But with all of the drama currently surrounding the WNBA, on top of the low-paying salaries, some of these players are questioning if they'll even return.
Most WNBA players have to go overseas during the off-season just to make enough money to live. Think about that. These are professional athletes in one of the biggest sports leagues in America, and they need a second job just to make ends meet. And we're not talking about bench players here, we're talking about the stars of the league. But there might be some light at the end of this tunnel.
So I think with this new TV deal, with the new viewership, with the revenue that's coming in, these sold out arenas, they will start to see this profit stack up. And in turn, with these CBA negotiations, hopefully the salary cap at these different teams will go up and we'll see players get an increase in salary.
With this new media deal and all the growth we're seeing in viewership, and attendance experts are saying WNBA salaries could actually hit 7 figures in the future, that would be a complete game changer for these athletes who've been grinding it out for years on. These smaller contracts, also many WNBA players are becoming well-known public figures, which has opened doors to endorsement deals. These partnerships provide a vital income supplement, especially as their on-court earnings remain modest.
Is that now these WNBA players and even college players are becoming celebrities in their own right, and they are gaining so many brand deals, endorsement deals. They are able to invest in different things, and they are making millions of dollars off the court. So yes, they're using the WNBA as their anchor, as their place where they can get this visibility and this.
Platforms like social media have been key in amplifying the presence of WNBA players, allowing them to grow their brands. This increased exposure helps them land deals and investments that provide financial security outside of their athletic careers.
But they are able to use social media, use these brands, get all of these other opportunities off the court to supplement their income, which is right now a low-paying salary in the WNBA.
Even though WNBA salaries aren't yet high, players are finding success through external opportunities as the league evolves and negotiations continue. There's optimism that their earnings will soon reflect their worth both on and off the court. The Caitlin Clark effect is something that could significantly help as she's selling out arenas and breaking viewership records in college. But here's the surprising twist: some of the same players pushing for higher salaries are also criticizing the rookie, who might just help boost their paychecks. Why are they doing this? That's where things really start to get interesting.
For this league, again, what do you do? I mean, this league is going to make some money now, all right? But again, what happens if you push all these new fans back out? What does that do for your media rights deals? Because they only got the new media rights deals because of one player. I mean, singular, let's be honest, it's Caitlin Clark.
Let's talk about what Clark's doing to the game right now, because it's insane. Every time she steps on the court, records are broken. We're not just talking about points here, we're talking about packed arenas, massive TV ratings, and fans going crazy just to get a glimpse of her play. And now that she's heading to the WNBA, those same numbers could follow her to the pros. Brittany Griner came out and said something really interesting about this whole situation. She pointed out that Clark's bringing tons of attention to women's basketball, and they're all hoping it translates into more support for the WNBA.
Frankly, Caitlin Clark fans are getting pissed over it. They're getting tired of it. You know? And again, all these new fans, a lot of them, like us, in this house, that are actual families, a nuclear family, a traditional family unit, we don't want to see her get the crap beat out of her on the court. That's not a good look for our kids to be watching. We don't want to see that.
The WNBA used to fly under the radar in the sports world, but that's all changed largely because of one player, Caitlin Clark. She didn't just make an entrance, she burst onto the scene like a basketball supernova, turning heads and redefining the game.
The WNBA has seen record-breaking numbers this season in viewership, ticket sales, merch sales, and just overall growth of the league.
Suddenly, everyone was buzzing about women's basketball, and the WNBA finally found itself in the spotlight it had been seeking for years, and ticket price is only skyrocket when Caitlin Clark is playing. Check the numbers.
WNBA. Cheap seats going for $100. That is a sign of progress. The most expensive seats to see Caitlin Clark were selling for over $4,000. When she played Angel Reese in the regular season, average ticket was selling for $300. Normally, the Chicago Bravado, they'll let you in for free to see Angel Reese.
However, a divide is emerging within the league, and some players are beginning to worry about how her rising success could impact their own standing.
Again, what do you do? I mean, this league is going to make some money now, all right? But again, what happens if you push all these new fans back out? What does that do for your media rights deals? Because they only got the new media rights deals because of one player. I mean, singular, let's be honest, it's Caitlin Clark.
Check this out. If Clark continues to bring a fraction of her success to the WNBA, we're talking about a potential game changer for the league's finances, with the NBA already putting in $15 million yearly to keep things running. Imagine what could happen If Clark starts filling arenas and bringing in those massive TV audiences, the real question is, will the same players who've been skeptical about Clark end up thanking her when those revenue-sharing checks start getting bigger?